うわ、なんか来た。いや、やばいやばいやばい。
あらあら、あなた、誰？はじめまして。ふふふふ。私たちは一緒に奥の楽しみを持ってしようとしてます。
はい、どうも、探索銀次です。いやー、もう夏も終わりで秋になりますね。ところで皆さん、秋といえばホラーですよね。ホラーなのかわかんないけど、このゲームで存在するファンガールちゃんという子をご存知でしょうか。今回はこの少女についてちょっとだけ調べてきたんで紹介していきたいと思います。それじゃあやっていきましょう。まずは公式ホームページから見ていきましょう。このキャラクターを紹介しているページがあるんですが、ゲーム会社コナミって知ってますか皆さん。そのゲーム会社コナミの有名なコマンド、通称コナミコマンドっていうのがあるんですが、それをこのページで入力するとあることが起こります。それじゃあやってみましょう。はい、画面が真っ赤になり、ファンガールちゃんのページになります。画像もね、アップにして見ることができます。ファンガールちゃん怖すぎでしょ。めっちゃ血出てる。で、ここに書いてある、あらあら、あなた誰ふふ、はじめまして。私たちは一緒に多くの楽しみを持ってしようとしています。ちょっと日本語おかしいんだけど、これはこの動画の一番最初に喋っていたことと全く同じことが書いてあります。
あなた、誰？
はい、で、この状態でもう一度コナミコマンドを入力すると、このように画面がバグった感じになります。さらにもう一度コナミコマンドを入力すると、背景が黒くなります。これはしばらくしたらまたすぐに赤に戻りますね。はい、こんな感じの仕掛けがあります。ファンガールちゃんの正体は、違う世界線にいる女神サイコーちゃんの女神おばさんの双子の妹、それがファンガールちゃんと言われています。この情報は校長テープナンバー2で話されている内容となります。それじゃあ聞いていきましょう。
Huh? Oh, wow. I didn't realize how much dust was on this thing. Well, I suppose I should consider myself lucky. If I never use this thing, it means everything has been going so smoothly that I just never feel the need to vent. But something happened today that really threw me off. I wouldn't feel right talking about it with any of my colleagues, but I need to get it off my chest. So maybe recording my thoughts will help. Today, I visited Psycho headquarters for a routine meeting with Mr. Psycho, just as I've done dozens of times over the past few years. But today was different. He was angry, foul-mouthed, and short-tempered. I'd never seen him like that before. He didn't reprimand me for anything, and we simply discussed the usual topics, but the entire time he seemed like he was on the verge of exploding. I was confused and worried, and frankly, scared. His secretary must have seen how shaken I was, because after the meeting, she took a moment to assure me that I hadn't done anything wrong, and that Mr. Psycho was angry about a personal matter. On most days, I would never dream of gossiping about the man who signs my paychecks, but my curiosity got the better of me, and I asked her for details. She didn't know all the specifics, but she knew enough to give me a basic summary. Earlier that day, Mr. Psycho had a furious argument with his daughter, who graduated recently. Apparently, she doesn't want to inherit the company, and she's decided to leave Japan to travel the world. This is absolutely unacceptable to her father. because he's invested a lot of resources into giving her the training necessary to take over his empire when he retires. He had absolute faith that his daughter would inherit his company when the time came, and her decision had invalidated all of his plans, along with many years of effort, not to mention an incalculable amount of money. After a long, heated discussion, well, more like a shouting contest from the sound of it, Mr. Psycho threatened to disown his daughter, and she had absolutely no problem with that. He told her, "If you walk out that door, you're no longer a part of this family." And moments later, she left his office without a word. Mr. Psycho is a man who refuses to compromise and only accepts the results he wants. I'm 100% certain that from this day forward, his daughter is dead to him. The secretary told me a little more about the way Mr. Psycho raised his daughter. Starting from early childhood, she was given training to prepare her for the responsibilities that come with operating a company. Training that became more advanced and intense with each passing year. Mr. Psycho also has a son, but he didn't put his son through the same sort of training as his daughter. Instead, he granted his son a perfectly normal childhood, perhaps out of guilt for what he did to his daughter. But now he's making preparations to rapidly change the direction of his son's life, so the boy will acquire the traits and skills that his sister spent her entire life developing. The strangest part is the exact reason why Mr. Psycho's daughter wants to travel the world. One phrase the secretary kept hearing was, "my sister." Apparently, Mr. Psycho's daughter is absolutely convinced that she has a sister somewhere in the world, and that she needs to find her. But Mr. Psycho only has 2 children, so if she says she has a sister, there are 3 options. She's speaking figuratively, she's actually become delusional, or Mr. Psycho has an illegitimate child. At this point, the secretary decided she'd said too much, and stopped talking. I had a feeling I was starting to tread on dangerous ground, so I chose not to pry any further. Even though I wound up with more questions than answers, at least now I know why he was so angry. Losing his daughter, along with more than a decade of money, planning, effort, must be an incredibly painful experience. But after hearing all this, it'll be hard for me to look at him the same way I used to. He told me that he built Academy High to give his daughter the perfect, ideal high school life. But now I think that was just a cover story. I think he built Academy High and made his daughter the student council president to put her through the experience of being in charge of an organization. The school wasn't a gift from a father to a daughter. It was just another component of her lifelong training, another step in the process of turning her into the perfect CEO. A training simulation. And now he's going to put his son through an accelerated version of that process. Poor boy. It doesn't surprise me at all that she defied her father and ran away from all that. But in the end, it wasn't pressure or stress that made her reject her father's wishes. It was this weird notion that she has a sister. Maybe all the stress drove her crazy. The weirdest thing of all is that when I imagine Mr. Psycho with another daughter, I have a mental image of what she would look like. But I get a headache if I picture her in my mind for too long. Man, really creeps me out. If Academy High was built solely for one girl, and that girl has graduated, what happens next? I was afraid the school was going to be shut down, but apparently Mr. Psycho just wants me to continue business as usual. A lot of the students who graduate from this school get offers from Psycho Corp almost immediately after graduation. So I guess this place really did turn out to be a training ground for future Psycho employees after all. I don't feel angry or sad, just disenchanted. Well, it's an easy job, and I can't argue with the pay, so I guess I'll just stay on my current course for now. Man, even though I know that nobody is going to listen to this tape, I feel way better after recording my thoughts. I guess Mr. Psycho's gift was good for something after all. Thanks for hearing me out, Mr. Tape Recorder. With that said, I hope I don't have to use you again anytime soon.
はい、っていう内容になっています。校長先生は真実を知ってしまったのか。怖いね。ファンガールちゃんが初めてヤンシミに登場したのが2016年2月8日のアップで、今回これだけファンガールちゃんが登場しているんですが、この中から3つピックアップして紹介していきたいと思います。はい、じゃあまず1つ目は一番最初に登場した2016年2月8日を見ていきましょう。いやー、闇が深い話でしたね。はい、じゃあ続きまして、2017年1月3日のファンガールちゃん。この時まだおさなちゃんが実装されていなかったんですが、ここにおさなちゃんのデータを追加しようとすると、ファンガールちゃんに会うことができます。それじゃあ実際にファンガールちゃんに会いに行ってみましょう。おー、始まった。なんかヤンちゃんがかまいたちの夜みたいになってる。まあいいや、やっていきましょうか。なんか音がすごいね。怖い音がする。うわ、なんか来た。いや、やばいやばいやばい。これさ、ネメシスより全然速くね？待って、速いんだけど。どうやらファンガールちゃんに触ったら、即ゲームがクラッシュするみたい。いやー、早い。追いつかれるうちに探索したいんだけど、やばい、追いつかれ。 はい、3つ目は2018年4月26のファンガールちゃんを見てみましょう。はい、すごい闇が深い話でしたね。僕ちょっと考察が苦手なので、こうだと思うよっていうコメントがありましたら、ぜひ教えていただけると嬉しいです。はい、じゃあ次の動画でまたお会いしましょう。ご視聴ありがとうございました。